Right. Now, out here, today we are going to cover the concepts of object-oriented programming, and I'll talk about the basic drivers and all for Selenium as well. Okay, I'll tell you about how what objects are and how they are created. Right. So out here, this was the project. Okay. Now, day two, I had made this project day two. Right. Guys, please keep your microphones on mute. If you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask a question, or you can use the chat option as well in Zoom meetings. There is a chat option. You will see the option at your end. Okay. Right. Now, in the day two of the training, okay, we will be studying about the concepts of OOPS, that is object oriented programming. Fine. And I had made this class car.java, which was a simple class with just two variables, name and price. All right, fine. Now, what if I have to make the object of this class? Now, what do you mean by object of a class? Right, I'll make a new class out here known as test car. Okay, in this, what I'm going to do is that in the main function, right, I'm going to create something known as the object of the car class. Fine, and that is created by writing new car. Okay, this is how you create the object of the class. Now, what do you mean by the object of the class? What happens in the memory when you create the object of a class? Okay, I'll explain you with the help of a simple diagram in Paint. Okay, when you write new car over there, in the memory, this object is created. Inside the object, both the variables name and price which you had declared in the car class, they will be present. Okay, so you will have to write name and price. Okay, these two variables will be there in the object. Now I can create as many objects as you want. I can create three objects of the car class. Right. So what will happen is that in the memory, three objects will be created. Each object will have its name and price. Okay, name and price. Right, but I cannot access these objects. To access these objects, you have to have some reference, some object reference. Okay, you need to write car C1 equals to new car, then car C2 equals to new car, then car C3 equals to new car. All right, fine. So C1, C2 and C3 are the object references. Right, fine. And out here, with the help of C1, C2, C3, you can access the object and you can access the internal contents of the object. Okay, so C1, you can draw it like this, that C1 is pointing here, C2 is pointing here. Object and object references, they are different things. Okay, object references, they point to the object. Alright, with the help of object reference, you can change the state of the object. Suppose I write over here C1 dot. So you will get in Eclipse the options. Name, you can write C1 dot name is A. And C1 dot price, you can put up a price. Alright, so what will happen is that, so this will become A and the price will become 100. Alright, fine. Similarly, you can write C2 dot name is B, C2 dot price is 200. And for C3 also you can declare, you can write out here right. I hope you're getting my point. I'll maximize the screen. So in practical, C1, C2, C3, they become three objects with name and prices. Alright, so if I have to access these values, then I can simply write over here system.out.println, say c1.name and c2.name and c3.name. So when I run this program, okay, what will happen is that it will print A, B and C. That is pretty fine. Right. So object is one thing, object reference is another thing. With the help of object reference, you can access, you can manipulate, you can do anything with the object. Okay, right, fine. Now comes a little bit of difference. Okay, if I write out here C1 equals to C2, then what I am doing is that I am removing C1 from here and I am making C1 point towards the same object where C2 is pointing. Okay, so C1 and C2, they both point towards the same object. They both can manipulate the same object. Alright, so this time if I write this line C1 dot name, let me put a demarcating line. Right, how is car and test car? They are not connected. Okay, the question being asked is that how both these classes are connected. They are not connected. Only thing is, in test car class I am creating the object of the car class. I am referring that. You can refer that. That is not a problem. They are not connected, but I am writing the code in which the test car class is using the car class. That's it. Okay. Right. So now, if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me. Please don't hesitate. All right. When I run this program, A, B and C are printed by line number 18, 19, 20. And by The second run it is printing BBC. C1 dot name and C2 dot name, both of them are printing B because both C1 and C2 are pointing towards the same object. Okay, right? If I write on the next line that C1 dot name is Z and I print the same thing again, so what will happen is that C1 will go and make this B to Z. So when C2 tries to access it, it will also get Z. Alright. So when I run this, it will print Z and Z. Right. There's a question being asked that C1 and C2 are called objects or object references. C1 and C2 are known as object references. Okay, object reference is different. I can write, say, car X equals to null. So that means this is object reference X of the car class, which is pointing towards no object. Okay, in the next line, I can write X equals to new car. So what will happen is that X will start pointing towards the object of the car class. Alright, X is known as the object reference and this is the object. And with the help of object reference, you can access the properties of the object. Alright, fine, not this the property. Suppose you have a function. You have a function like public void start. Inside it, I write starting car and the name of the car. Okay, so since this is a function inside the car class, whenever I'm creating the object of the car class, okay, inside the object, right, inside every object, the start function will also be present. All right, fine. Right, now with the help of C1, C2, C3, you can access this. Suppose I write over here C3 dot start. So when C3 is calling its own start function, you'll get the option automatically after hitting the dot button. You will get this start function listed in this list automatically. Okay, so when C3 is calling the start function will print starting car and the name of the car. Name variable, it will refer, it will take the name variable from its object itself. Okay, so when I run this code, it will print in the end starting car C. Alright, because C3 had called the start function. Okay, right, so with the help of an object reference, you can access everything inside the object. Now, suppose I have a variable int number of engines, the total number of engines in a car. Alright, so when I create the object of the car class over here, I can write C1 dot number of engines equals to say 1. For C2 also I can write number of engines equals to 1. For C3 also I can write the same thing. But it looks a little monotonous. Look, every car will obviously have one engine. Alright, whatever object you create, right, every car will have number of engines as 1. So does it make sense that you have a property number of engines in every object? The value for that will be the same for every object. So it doesn't make sense. So we don't do like this. We don't keep it over here. Right? What we do is that we make this static. When you make this static, when you use the keyword static in front of this variable, it will move away from the object. It will be present somewhere over here, say maybe in the memory, right? Number of engines, and it is common for all the objects. Okay, it is common for all the objects. We remove it from the object by writing static. I hope you are getting my point. Now if I go to my test car, you will see that there is a warning sign. It's not an error on line number 9, 14 and 19. There is a warning sign which says that if you move your mouse over it, it will tell you static field should be accessed in a static way. You cannot access, it is not a good practice to access static thing with the help of an object. If I have to access this variable, I can simply write car dot number of engines as 1. For all the objects, it will become 1. The static stuff in a class can be accessed with the name of the class directly. A static variable or a static function can be accessed directly with the name of the class without creating the object. Right? So there are two things in a class. This is known as a non-static variable. Okay. This is known as a non-static variable. This is known as a static variable. Non-static variables and functions. This is known as a non-static function. I can make a static function as well. I can write public static xyz. So this is known as a static function. Non-static functions can only be accessed by creating the objects, non-static functions and variables. However, for static, you don't need an object. You can directly call it with the class name car.xyz. Because these things are common. These things are the properties of the class. If you create the object, with the object you can access all the non-static things. I am teaching you this because it is really important in Selenium to understand these concepts. In Selenium, we have everything inbuilt. Okay, we have everything is inbuilt. You just need to create the objects of the inbuilt classes. Okay, these are the known as the drivers. All right, I'll tell you. If you go to the official website of Selenium, which is seleniumhq.org, and out here you go to the download section and you move to the Java doc. Now there are various drivers in Selenium. Okay, if you scroll down to the bottom, you will see something known as WebDriver. Look, I don't remember all these classes. Nobody does. Whenever you have to do something, you can do a simple research in them. Right. I actually, as per my experience, I actually use them as per my own convenience after referring the Java docs and all. Okay. Now there is something known as web driver written over here. Click on that. Now these are the driver classes in Selenium. For every browser, they have a driver class. For example, Chrome driver, as the name suggests, it will help you to work on Chrome. Okay, if I create the object of, hold on, everything is inbuilt. Okay, first of all, you will have to include the jar files of Selenium in your project. Right. Okay, there's a question being asked. Can you give an example in SE? Same static one. Santosh, hold on. You will come to know. Just hold on. You'll come to know. Okay. So I'll include the jar files which we had downloaded. Hold on. Please include this main jar file and don't forget to include the jars which are under the lib folder. Okay. Right. So when I include these jar files, my project it becomes Selenium enabled. All right. Now the next thing. Look, all these jars are coming out like this. If you want to, you should better work in this perspective, Java perspective. Okay. Click on this small icon and click on Java, and that will help you because the jars will come under this reference library section and it becomes more organized. All right. Now, out here, let me just make a new class known as drivers Selenium. Now, in Selenium, everything is inbuilt. You have to create the objects of the inbuilt classes in these jars. For example, I just told you that there is a driver known as Chrome driver, which, as the name suggests, is for Chrome. If I write over here, if I create the object of Chrome driver, right, you'll see the error. Move your mouse over the error. You'll get the option to import Chrome driver. If you don't get this, that means you have not included the jar files of Selenium. Okay, right. If I run this code, you will see a error coming up. All of you will get this. Look, for working with Chrome in Selenium, you need to download few things. Okay, you go to the Selenium website, go to the download section, and you will see the download link over here. Okay, this is for the jar files, right? And if you scroll down, you will have the Google Chrome driver. Okay, if you open this link, you'll get the latest release. You go to this link and you will get a page, hold on, like this. For your operating system, you download the zip file, Linux, Mac, or Windows 34-bit or 64-bit. Okay, whatever it is, you can download this file and extract it. When you extract it after downloading, you will get, hold on, you will get an exe like this. Sorry, I'm sorry, Chrome driver.exe. All right. So what you need to do is that you need to set it in the system properties that is required to work with Chrome, right? You need to write over here system dot set property webdriver dot chrome dot driver, and in the value you have to give the path of that exe file. Don't try to run this. Okay, in the double quotes overhead you will have to give the path of exe. Make sure you give the correct path. Make sure you write over here webdriver.chrome.driver. Many times people keep this W capital or something and it gives an issue. No. Everything in lowercase. Java is a case sensitive language. Okay, webdriver.chrome.driver. You have to set this system property. When you run this code, now you will see a blank Chrome browser opening in front of you. Okay, if you have to handle this Chrome, if you have to do something on this Chrome, you'll have to give the object reference over here. Chrome driver C equals to new Chrome driver. With the help of C, if I write C dot, I will get many non-static functions which are there inside the Chrome driver class inbuilt. Okay, suppose one of the functions is get. All right. Yes, every script you prepare, you have to write this line for Chrome. Right, so out of all these non-static functions, I'm using a function known as get, wherein you specify the URL, say http yahoo.com. Mentioning the protocol is very important. It is not like QTP or UFT where you can skip. Over here, mentioning protocol is a real important thing, and when you run this code, see, you will see the browser opening over here. Okay, right, hold on, Sumant, hold on. Ankur, I'll tell you everything. How will you make the location relative and all? Not right now. In the coming classes, I'm going to tell everything. This is just an icebreaker right now. Okay. So all your questions, majority of them will be clear. All right. Now, what is system? System is an inbuilt class in Java, and set property is a static function inside it. That is why I'm able to directly call it with the name of the class. Okay, there are many functions. One of them is set property. Okay, right. Now in Chrome driver class also, you have got, if I write Chrome driver dot, there is no static thing inside it. This class you can ignore. There is nothing static inside this class. Everything is non-static and can be accessed by creating the object of the class. Okay. This function is non-static because you cannot call it with Chrome driver directly. You cannot write Chrome driver dot get. You'll get an error. This is a non-static function. It's made like this. This driver is made like this.
Okay, maybe Uncle, I'm trying to understand the difference between static and non-static. Earlier in your car example, that's what you said. Right? Because if something is common in the whole class as such, that can be called as a static, correct? Isn't get can it be like a, because that is common for the all the Chrome driver class
So
as
what if
such.
I want to work with three Chrome browsers? I want the
Uh-huh.
first one to navigate to Yahoo, second to some other website, third to some other website.
Oh, okay, okay, because the properties can be different. That's why
Yeah,
it is a static.
yeah.
Okay.
I can create three objects, C1, C2, C3 for Chrome driver and take it to different browsers.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Viral, I could not understand your question. It can work with any IP, anything. You just have to give the right one over here. Okay. Right now, out here, you can also work with Firefox. I'm just giving you a brief introduction right now for the drivers. I'm not going into the depth. I'm just telling you need to create the object. Okay, nothing else. How will you test it? How will you do this? How will you do that? We'll come over to it. Okay, if you look at the documentation, then there are other drivers. Edge driver is for Microsoft Edge. Event firing WebDriver is actually for special user gestures, but we don't use it that much these days. As the name suggests, Firefox and Internet Explorer driver, these are for Firefox and IE. Opera driver is to work with Opera, but it is unstable. It gives a lot of problems. Okay, it is not a very stable one. Right, and even Safari driver is not at all stable. Okay, it gives issues. Simple pop-up management, clicking, and object extraction. Simple things don't work on it. All right, remote WebDriver. This we will be using when we will be doing Selenium Grid. When we will be running the tests parallelly on multiple systems, we will be using this. So I'm just giving you a brief introduction right now. I'm not going into the depth right now. Right. If I want to use Firefox driver, I can use it. Okay. I can create the object of Firefox driver. All right. And yes, Ankur, I'm telling you, hold on. Right. If you have to work with Firefox driver, then for Firefox as well, you will have to download an exe, the driver exe, from the Selenium website. Go to the download section and you download the Mozilla Gecko driver. Okay, click on this 0.16 and you'll get this link. Over here, you can download it for Windows 64-bit or 32-bit, extract it, Mac, anything. I have it over here, geckodriver.exe. Okay, and you need to write in your code the same thing, system.setProperty webdriver.gecko.driver and give the path of geckodriver.exe. Okay, if I run this code, hold on, I'll comment these things. If I run this, you will see that You see Firefox has opened. Fine. Okay, and if I write f dot, you will get lot of non-static things over here. If I use the same get function and type the website URL, you will be navigated to that website. Right, when I run this code, you see that, right? I hope, right, I hope you are able to understand me. Right. Now, for Mozilla, there are few things. If you are working with Selenium 2, Selenium 2.53, which was the last stable version, look, I'll tell you. In the Selenium website, if you go to the download section, if you look at the Java docs, these are the official documentation of Selenium. You can look at everything. Apart from that, there is a change log. In the change log, you will see what changed over a period of time in Selenium. Right, in various versions, what was the change? Right, when Selenium 2 was there, the version 2.53 of Selenium was the last stable build. Hold on, just 1 minute, guys. Just a minute. Yeah. Yeah. So this one, Selenium 2.53, this was the last stable build. This is very important for 2.x series. It had very few defects. It was working perfectly fine. Okay. Still companies use this because in Selenium 3, which we are using right now, there are problems, and I will show you the problems as well. Only thing is, this will work with Firefox maybe 45, not with the latest version 53 or something. Okay, there was no Gecko driver in it. To work with Selenium Firefox, right, in this build, you could directly, hold on, just a minute. You could directly create the object of Firefox driver. That's it. You did not need this exe. For Chrome, you need it, but not for Firefox. Okay. Right, then came Selenium 3, the beta version, and there has been lot of changes, defect modifications and all. All right, fine. So I will show you the problems with Selenium 3 as well. All right, and then we can decide which version can use. You can also decide. Right, now talking about other drivers, for example, Internet Explorer driver. You can write over here internet. If I just write internet and hit the control space bar of my keyword, it will give you the name of all the classes starting with the word internet. And as I keep on typing, they will get refined. So this is the driver. You can select it. You don't have to write everything. Internet X. You can put this over here only. To work with I also, you have to download an exe file. Okay, you can visit the official website, go to the download section, and you will have the Internet Explorer driver server mentioned here. Based on the version of your IE, 32-bit IE or 64-bit IE, download this exe. right? In my PC, I have it over here. Okay, right? No, for Firefox 45 or lower version, if you are using, you have to use Selenium 2.53, and you don't need to use the Gecko driver. Just directly create the object of Firefox driver. Okay. Now, out here, I will show you in the training. I'm just giving you a little introduction today. I will show you everything. All right. Now, you just need to write the same line over here, webdriver.i.driver, and you will have this I drivers. That's it. Make sure that if you're working with I, then the zoom level settings in I are set to 100%. Otherwise, it will give you an error. Okay. The browser zoom is there, right? You have to set it to 100%. All right. So these are the basic drivers. Apart from these drivers, you have other drivers as well, which I showed you in the documentation as well, right? Opera and Safari, it doesn't make sense. These are unstable. We will be looking at remote web driver when we will do grid. Okay. So basically you have got a driver class for every browser, and every driver class has got its own set of non-static functions, which you can access by creating the object of that class. Okay, right. So does this mean that you will have to study Chrome driver separately, Firefox separately, and IE separately? If I have to write a code which should work on all the three browsers, then will I create the object of all the three browsers like this and keep my work? A lot of should I just redo everything? That is the question, right? So answer to that is no, and the answer to that comes up from the concept of interfaces, which we will be doing tomorrow. Okay, not today. All right. There is a concept of constructor. Yes, Neha, I will come over to your question tomorrow. They don't have actually. I will explain you tomorrow why, the reason behind that. Okay, right. Now there is a concept of constructor. What do you mean by constructor? That's something which I want to talk about today, because that will be coming helping us over here in day 5. Right now, I just gave you a brief introduction to the drivers, and I will stop as far as drivers is concerned right now over here. Okay. Now I'll go back to the car.java class which I had made. I had few variables over here, static, non-static, functions were there. Okay. Now if I create the object of the car, suppose if I write over here, car z equals to new car, and I have to initialize the car, I'll have to write z dot name is, say, BMW, z dot price is some price. Okay. Firefox, Chrome, and I, it works best with these browsers. Okay. There's a question being asked, Selenium works best with which browsers? Firefox, Chrome, I, and that those are the major browsers which we work, right? So that's the thing. There is no order for that. There is no order. You can choose any browser. Okay. Now I've created the object of car class, initialize the properties. We are lucky that the car class only had 2 properties. What if it had 20 properties or 200 properties? Name, price, height, length, mileage. Okay, lot of things. Then will I initialize every property of the car class like this? No, we don't. And we use constructors over here. We make the constructor of the car class and we make it like this: public car. This is the constructor of the car class. A constructor is something whose name is same as the name of the class. Okay. Inside the constructor, I'll just print system.out.println inside constructor. How is it helpful? You will come to know in some time. Okay. Right. In the test car class, I will actually go and comment all the code which I have written. Comment means I'll disable. Okay, you put a slash star in the beginning and in the end you put star slash whatever is the code between. It will get it will be useless. It will just get commented. Right, when I run this code, it will print in the output inside constructor. Whenever you create the object of a class, I have created 4 objects of the class over here: 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Whenever you create the object of the class, the constructor will be called automatically. This constructor of the car class will be called. You can create another constructor like this: public car, which accepts, say, 2 variables, n and int p, name and price. Inside this, you can write the name of the car is equal to n and price of the car equals to p. So these are 2 forms of constructors. This is known as overloading basically. This is one constructor with no parameters. This is one constructor which takes in 2 parameters. Overloaded constructor it is called. Okay. And in the test car, you can create the object of the car like this now. Say car C5 equals to new car, and instead of calling the normal default constructor, you can call the constructor like this. Say I can pass the name of the car. Okay, say Toyota and the price. So automatically Toyota will be passed over in n and price will be passed over here and the object will be initialized. Sorry. I don't need to initialize the properties of this object in the next line like this. Okay, if I write over here system.out.println c5.name and c5.price, and if I run this code, it will print the same. So on the fly, while creating the object itself, I've initialized it. This is the advantage of the constructor. Otherwise, I have to initialize it line by line, and that creates a problem. You got my point, right? Right? If anybody has any questions, you can let me know. Okay, right. So I'll stop here.